Together we are but first coffee. Susie's just our host, but what matters most is we are a team. Together we are all safe here, and so are you. Among friends and mods we are safe. We talk about trauma, break down drama of life, death, happy or sad, even mad. We discuss it all here. Together we will thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Together we fight cults or fight addictions. If not with experience, with love, and we don't judge. Please understand, this is a safe place to land. Please understand, you're not alone. This is a safe place to land. Together we thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Because we are but first coffee, and Susie welcomes us all here. Together we are but first coffee, and Susie.
Hello, I got my voice now. I was just saying hi and glad to be back and that I had to miss yesterday, but it actually wasn't my fault. I was doing a show about stalkers actually, and I had an amazing guest that was going to be on, and her mom fell and broke her hip and was having surgery yesterday. So, I guess I'll excuse her for not being there. So I think she's gonna come on after I get back from vacation, and because I mean, during vacation, I'm probably not gonna be able to, like, set, like, real, you know, good times on when I'm coming on. It's gonna kinda just be by the seat of my pants, just what works in the situation that I'm in. So, anyway, I feel sorry for my mods because I might be kinda all over the place. Ugh, what a mess, but I do wanna be able to still come on live while I'm there. So, anyway, and any of you, if any of you have had experience with a stalker, either yourself was stalked or maybe, you know, your child or anybody, here, stick it up, then get with me because I'd love to add you to the stage. We just have like a panel. That would be absolutely great. And everybody can just kind of talk about it. So, yeah, or if you are in law enforcement and you know anything about the laws and all that and what could be done or just anything or in mental health, whatever. If you have any ideas and it comes down to stalking, please, please, please get with me. You can email me. You can find me at Susie Thurman Oberholtz on Messenger, and I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. My email address is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So, ugh, boy, I tell you what, I am almost ready to go. I was so happy yesterday. I got everything that I intended to get done yesterday. Those last few days before vacation seem like they make you earn your vacation, basically. So, yeah, I even got Mark's haircut. So, I had to cut mine today. Got it a little shorter than I intended, but it'll grow. It grows so fast. So it's fine. But anyway, it'll be easy breezy, right? So it is so good to look over and see some of the chat here. And I know there's lurkers, and you're welcome too. And the ones that come afterwards and on the replay, you are absolutely welcome too. Glad to have you. So I am going to go ahead and check in with my chat before we get into today's topic. So let's see. Mayor's here. Absolutely. So glad you're here, Mayor. And again, thank you so much. You are an absolute angel. I just love you. So healing through song, John is here. He is actually in the back office going to be starring comments. So if you have questions or comments, please do put those. And if you would, put either C's or Q's or something to get our attention before it so that we don't miss you, because sometimes the chat gets a little hopping and then I'm always afraid of missing people and I never want to do that. And it still happens. So if we do miss you, please pop in after the video or after the live and put your comments or questions in the chat or in the comment section. I'll get it right in a minute because I do read every one of those and answer every one that's like some kind of question or something that needs an answer. So please do that. Plus, it helps with the algorithm. The more, that people interact with the channel, just the more it helps. Speaking of which, if you would, please check to make sure that you are still subscribed if you want to be subscribed. And if you don't want to be subscribed, why not? We have fun here. Doesn't cost anything. Go ahead and do that. You can hit the like, all that YouTube business. It helps the channel just get out to more viewers. So, doesn't give me anything. It doesn't cost you anything. It just helps the channel get out to more people. So, anyway, let's see here who else is here. That was a long I'm not even sure what that all came from, but anyway. Hey, quiet peaceful dance. So good to see you. Always look forward to you being here. Absolutely. I see you guys chatting to each other. Hey, Indigo Twin, good to see you. Absolutely love seeing you. And I really do want to get a hold of you. And I cannot remember the other girl's name. I'm going to go back and look because I always feel so stupid when I don't remember somebody's name. But I would love to get you two, or if you know anybody else that has had near death experiences, or if any of you listening have had one, I would really, or know somebody that has, I would really, really love to to get with you all and I don't know, I'm just interested in it. I know that Duncan, which is Marilyn Honig's husband, I know that he is hugely interested in them. I'll have to hit him up and see what he has to say. Maybe he'll come on, right? He's so funny and I just love Duncan. He's amazing. So, absolutely. Yeah, my friend she's actually a friend of mine, but yeah, the one that was gonna be the guest, she actually went through surgery really well. She was up and walking around today. It is, she's done great, and they expected her to, but she's in her 80s, and so you just never know. I mean, Mark's mother fell and broke her hip, I think it's been about a year ago, and she's 90, and so we were so scared, but she really has. I mean, there for a while, she didn't look good. I was scared to death. I just was like, "Oh, you hear all these stories." But she seems to be doing really well now. At least I hope so. So, whoops. I just keep hitting the wrong button. It's because I sit at an angle. I need to get my mouse out is what I need to. So, I'm not doing that. Oh, wow. Carrie, good to see you. Says, "Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Rough day for me today, but this brightens it. I'm happy." Well, good. In case you all did not know, Carrie, who has been on our show a couple of times, is our newest mod. So everybody, welcome Carrie. She's great. She's just kind of learning, but she's doing absolutely phenomenal. So we just love her. Oh, wow, Indigo. See, you really need to come on my show. There's 2 reasons now. Between stalkers and near-death experiences, we're gonna have to talk, girl. We need to talk. I will definitely be getting with you. Probably won't schedule any guests for next week at all while I'm on vacation, but for the next week, I am gonna start trying to schedule some guests again, but with, being on vacation and not ever knowing for sure where we're gonna be when and it's a totally different time zone and just everything, I don't want to, like, get a guest on there and then be having to call them up and be like, "Oh, sorry, I can't do it." So, yeah, I'm just not wanting to be that person. So, we will, for sure get some people on here very soon, though. I'm not sure what this is about. Indigo says, "I wish I was a man this week, but otherwise good." I could probably come up with a couple of reasons why maybe. But yeah, John, I agree. Hi, Carrie. Sorry you had a bad day. Let's turn that frown upside down, my friend. She is always smiling. I bet she was smiling even whenever the day was being crappy. uh, oh, Indigo says, I'm honestly not sure how I survived." Oh, girl. I hope Sister Bougie has a good rest. Bless her. Well, here's the deal. Sister Bougie might have pre-recorded a video for this Sunday and next Sunday. So even while Susie's on vacation, apparently Bougie is going to be working. So, whoops. Yeah, absolutely. Please bless the like button and subscribe to Susie. It's a great time here. Linda Scott says almost on time. Whatever time you get here is exactly when you're supposed to be here, because you can always back up or go from here and, and then start at the beginning later. So, when you're here is when you're supposed to be. Okay. People talking to each other. I try not to just, interrupt you too much on there. Oh, I Mara says, "Indigo, I absolutely adore John. He's an unofficial little brother. Just as long as you don't make him your work husband, because if you do, we're gonna have some trouble." I get very jealous. Not really. Oh, yeah, that is her name, right? Okay, let me write this down. I remember now. Amber Ascends. I knew it was like something that it, was and wounds. You guys, if you haven't been here before, I keep a little index card next to me, and whenever I need to write stuff down, I just do. We just take a break for Susie to write stuff down. So, oh well, right? I mean, if we were sitting at one of our houses and, out on the porch or whatever, or sitting around in the on the couches all snuggled up, because my at my house I have this big sectional and it's big and squishy and there's all these pillows and Afghans and, just so I mean it's a real comfort place. So if we were all hanging out there and you said something, I would be like, "Hold on." And I would grab a paper and a pen and write it down. So that's what I do here. So I will be looking into that to try to get them on here. Oh my gosh, Linda, we want to hear about that too. I had my life flash in front of me when I almost drowned as a teenager. That to me just seems like such an amazing kind of scary thing to have your life literally flash before your eyes kinda deal, but I know people that it have happened to, and I just think it is awesome. My dogs are gonna drive me up the wall. I'm almost looking forward to being gone, like, 10 days with no dogs in my lap trying to tear down my screen or begging for food. And then I think about how cute they are whenever they're all laying there sleeping, and I know I'm gonna miss them. Yeah, Linda, we need to talk to you too. I'm serious, guys. If you got any kind of story, I wanna have you on. Even if you don't. You sent a Facebook request, I will go look at that afterwards. I am terrible about checking my Facebook stuff, so I really will. I kind of, thought that it was that womanly time of month. I haven't had that in, wow, like 15, 16 years because as soon as they started the first dose of chemo that I got, they said, "Now, this chemo, it will," 'cause they told me before I started, "If you're gonna want to have a baby, you need to freeze your eggs." And I was like, "No, I'm done. I don't want any more well, I do, but, I'd have a baby right now today if I could. Like, seriously, right this minute. But, well, not maybe this minute, but, But anyway, so they said, "This is gonna affect your fertility, and so if you want to have any more children, you need to freeze your eggs." And I said, "It's okay." So then, they said, "Well, now we're gonna start your chemo today," ugh, like, it's so fun. But anyway, "We're gonna start your chemo today, and probably about dose 3 or 4, you might stop having periods." And I'm like, "Okay, yay." And I said, "I'm actually due one tomorrow, and so maybe that'll be, one of my very last." And so I know you guys are the men here are just like, "Oh, good. We're gonna talk about periods," but it's not gonna be anything gross. That was just saying the word period is the worst of it. So anyway, I had my chemo. The next day, nothing. The next day, nothing. About 15, 16 years later, nothing. So that was the one good thing about chemo. And I didn't even have like a horrible menopause or anything. It was like it just did it all at once. I guess I was just so miserable during chemo that I didn't, really even think about it. Wow. I bet it is, Linda. I bet it is a really strange feeling, hard to put in words. The best that I can kind of think about is that I had a car accident and I literally could not remember the accident. Like I remembered knowing it was going to happen and being after it had happened. No memory of the actual accident. And I do this because I knew by the road, by the conditions of the road, that I had spun 3 times and then hit this embankment. So, but I had no memory of it. And it was a few weeks later, I mean, I remembered everything but that, but that little few seconds. And literally a few weeks later, I was on the phone talking to my mom and it flashed in front of my eyes. I saw the accident, I saw the vehicle, I saw the man's face. I I saw everything. And so that's the only thing that I can think of that it might be kind of like is that with it just flashing, maybe not, but that's about the closest that I can even imagine. Yeah, you definitely need to come on here. I had a near death experience due to a stalker. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'll make sure that she hears this, that she gets this message. Well, thank you, sister, for your sacrifice to keep Susie's channel going. So you know that while I'm gone, you're going to get at least 2 shows. Sunday and Sunday. And I will tell you, they're only about 20 minutes long. She's not gonna go as long this time, so Anyway, let's see here. I think I'm almost down to the bottom. Yeah, I am too, Indigo. I'm sad to hear that so many have had stalkers. So incredibly sad. But yeah, seriously, guys, if you want to come on and tell your story, I would love to have you on. I don't care if we have a bunch of you on. We'll make it happen. Hey Lori, good to see you. Happily lurking. Yeah, we are a safe place here where we can share our experiences. And if anybody comes over here and tries to be acting like a stalker, we'll kick their ass. That's just what happens here. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And today, actually, we are going to talk about privilege. So, everybody take out your paper and pencil, right? This is going to be a pop quiz. Not really. I'm just kidding. Relax, seriously. But I kind of wanted to say that just because tonight's topic, just talking about privilege and everything that that can kind of bring up in our minds, sometimes it kind of evokes the same kind of feelings. Like we feel dread, we feel like fear of people thinking that we, are so privileged or whatever, or we just or just the negativity that goes along with it. And just like those dreaded pop quizzes, right? Back in high school, I seem to remember those. I remember absolutely having dread and fear and just a lot of negativity. So anyway, but what I do want us to do is I want us to talk about it. I want, I want to talk about what privilege is and what privilege isn't, because a lot of people that talk about it and toss that word around just really don't know what the hell they're talking about. So anyway, I want to throw it out. I want to throw out all the thoughts of privilege being an insult, um, of it being a political issue, of it being oh my nose, of it being some kind of judgment. We're going to toss that out, okay? And any negative thoughts that you have with the word privilege, I just want you to throw them away tonight, and we're just going to talk about it in a like just honest and actually in a good way. I mean, so first of all, what does it mean? Well, simply put, I looked it up, okay? And it means that someone has an experience, an advantage, a right, or an immunity not available to everyone. Seems pretty simple. And it says, what does it not mean? It doesn't mean that somebody had a perfect life. It doesn't mean that you didn't work your ass off to get to where you are. It doesn't mean that you never had hard times. It doesn't mean that you never lived on welfare, that you were never homeless or an addict or anything else. It does not mean that you had a perfect life by any stretch of the imagination. We're going to go into more that show what actual privileges are, but just keep that in mind. And the beauty of recognizing privilege and that it doesn't take away, or is that it doesn't take away your hard work, whatever that is, be it to get through school, be it at your job, to raise a family, to raise children that, you know, maybe they have autism or they have different disabilities. It doesn't take all that away. But at the same time, there are situations where we can see that maybe we did have a little bit of a head start. And because of that, maybe we can use that to help smooth the path for someone else. Now, that doesn't mean letting them skip the line, like in school, they cut in front of you in the lunch line. No, that's not what that means. That doesn't mean, you know, making it, easier for somebody to get a degree, easier for somebody to get hired. No, it just means that we smooth that way for them so that it's not harder just because of certain things. So, tonight, it's not about finger pointing. It's not about politics because I really could not give a absolute flying fuck what any of your political beliefs are. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. If I like you for you. And I hope that if you like me for me. So, politics out the window. We don't care. This is going to be about destigmatizing a word. Isn't it strange that a word has somehow become almost poisonous? And it really shouldn't be. 'Cause I believe, honestly, that every morning that we wake up on this side of the dirt, that that's a privilege. I absolutely believe that coming here and being able to talk to you guys and meet you guys and interact with you guys, I think that is a huge privilege. I truly do. So I want to look at what privilege is, what it's not, and I want to look at how it can be used to divide us. And that kind of sucks, if you ask me. So people say that privilege is when you don't think something is a problem because it's not your problem. And that's kind of true too. In fact, that's what my shirt today says. But it's so huge, guys. I ordered the same size I always order, and this must be, I don't know. But I do want to look at that. I do want to look at privilege being when you don't think something is a problem because it's not a problem for you. Because I believe that that can be true. I've said before that my friends on the outside, the regular world or whatever, that they don't understand why I am so hung up is the word they usually use or the phrase on ending Scientology. And I don't understand why they're not, but they don't understand why I am because they'll say things like, "We don't even have any Scientologists in Oklahoma." And I'm like, "Yet," you know? Or, "Well, I don't have any family members that have ever been in a cult." And I say, "Yet." That's kind of my blanket answer to all of that is yet. And so, yeah, I think that that fits pretty good. That they don't think it's a problem because it's not their problem yet. So anyway, I do have some slides that I want to show you that I think it just makes it easier. And I did call this, the privilege quiz because there are some questions at the end. You don't have to write them down. I want you to mostly think about it. And also, if you want to, chime in the chat at any time, I would love to know your answers to these questions too. So let's see here. All right. Mm, I ate a candy bar a while ago and I still am picking almonds out of my mouth. Sorry. Oh, you gonna come over here now, Poppy? Thank you. Okay, so some of the big structural privileges, the big things that we talk about, as privilege would be race, ethnicity, not being racially profiled or stereotyped. And I kind of think about this one because I think about the fact that, I raised two daughters. And when they became teenagers and they got their driver's license and they started driving and, going here, there, and everywhere, of course I was afraid. I wasn't terrified, but I was very worried about them. But my main worry was what were the other drivers going to do? Were they going to be safe? But I come to see that that is kind of a privilege because a lot of people out there, especially mothers of black children or even interracial children, they're not near as worried about what about the other drivers as they are, what if my child gets racially profiled and gets pulled over by the police and comes into contact with, a bad cop and ends up shot and killed. And I cannot imagine what it feels like to be a mom or a dad, and every time that your child goes out, whether they're driving or they're just walking the street, riding their bike, whatever, to be afraid that they might not come home alive simply because of the color of their skin. So, in that situation and where I'm at in America, basically, in the United States, yes, being white is a privilege. It it doesn't open every door for me, but it gives me a little bit of peace of mind that if my daughters get pulled over by a police officer, more than likely they're going to be safe. And my black friends don't have that privilege. They don't, they're scared. With gender being less likely to face harassment or discrimination because of gender, absolutely. Absolutely. And that can go either way. It really can, depending on the situation. And then if you think about it even further, with what about trans people? They have issues strictly because of their gender being different than their assigned at birth gender. And I guess we're just kind of lucky if if being male or female is not an issue, but it just really often is. Females are often not taken as serious. You know, Men are often thought of as, if they see a man with his children and maybe he's just like, you know, taking them out for lunch or something, and it's like, "Oh, he must be divorced. He's getting his kids this weekend or something." But the thing is so he's getting his kids this weekend. We really need to stop thinking that way, and I'm not accusing anybody. I'm talking to myself too because I've been guilty of it just like everybody else. I just did it the other day. I saw this man with he had like 4 kids and he really did look a little frazzled, I'm not gonna lie. And I was just like, "Man, I bet you he is, he's having his weekend visitation kinda deal." And I don't know, maybe his wife passed away, or maybe he is having his weekend visitation. But the thing is he is taking care of his kids. He's seeing them, and we know that not all parents do that, and a lot of women don't too. So I'm not just talking about men here. So please, religion, having holidays, customs, or dietary needs just widely recognized and accommodated. Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't imagine, you know, like I have Jewish friends and I don't know how they go out to eat and stuff because I know that they have to eat kosher, and I don't even really understand that. I would love for somebody to explain it to me, or I guess I could chat GPT it, but I like to just have a talk with somebody and have it explained to me. And what do they do? You know, do what do they order if they're out with friends? I mean, and not just Jewish people, but that's a good example. So if you are a religion that you really don't have any like I don't mean weird, but any, odd dietary needs, or you don't celebrate odd holidays or customs, that's a privilege. Does it mean that you have a perfect life? No. None of this means that you have a perfect life, but it means that something is just a little bit easier because of it. Citizenship, immigration status, not having to worry about deportation, visas, or being denied opportunities because of paperwork. I have a friend that she's been here on a visa for years, and she's from Canada, and I don't know, everybody was like every time she got a boyfriend, they were like, "You ought to just get married, and then you wouldn't have to worry about that visa." And she never did, she just kept doing what she needed to do. She said, "I'll either stay here or I'll go back, whatever." She did get married not even a year ago, but it was not to, get to stay in the country. She was madly in love with a really great guy, so I'm happy about that. But, I understand even just in some places, even just looking Mexican is dangerous with ICE, they'll, you know, grab you now, and ask detain you now and ask questions later, and that's sad. I've got an uncle that he's not Mexican, but I swear you would think he was if you were looking at him, and if he was at a Home Depot, which he was probably, he's very likely to be at a Home Depot. And even if you talk to him, because he's lived until just recently his whole life in California, and he does have a little bit of that where he sounds just a little bit Mexican, and because he lived in Southern California and all that. And the thought of him just being detained and treated badly, not just because he's my uncle, but for the fact that he wouldn't be doing anything wrong. He's a born and bred US citizen. So just looking like you're different can be dangerous. So, I don't know. I guess it's just a privilege to look like me. So, economic stability, growing up without worrying about basic needs like good housing or medical care. Yeah. We have a lot of people. I know a lot of people that have those worries. Absolutely. And if you don't, that's a privilege. It doesn't mean that you're, you know, perfect or that you didn't have a rough life. It just means that in that area you were privileged. I was privileged. Now, we did not have any kind of insurance growing up, but we were really lucky that we weren't sick very often, and we did get to go to the doctor when we needed to and all that, but there was probably, I'm sure, a lot of worry on my mom that we were going to fall and break an arm or a leg, and especially with rodeoing and everything, and gosh, just being able to rodeo and just being able to afford to have those horses and all the tack and the feed and everything is privilege, sorry. So, disability status, living without barriers, that limit access to jobs, education, or public spaces. Absolutely. That is such a privilege. It would be so nice. I can remember just a few years ago, going to Savannah, Georgia, and walking up and down these cobblestone streets and up and down these steep stairs and everything, and never giving it a second thought. And then we went just a few months ago, and I literally felt like I could barely, get around the town. I didn't get to go in some of the stores that I wanted to go into because I couldn't step up into the building because I had this surgery, one of my surgeries. Ugh. Anyway, it was he was an idiot. But anyway, I was trying to get reconstruction, and he folded me over instead of rolling me over or anything. He just folded me over like my chest to my legs. And he kept me there so long that it messed up a bunch of the nerves in my leg. Well, now I can't lift my leg properly. So yeah, I get it. Am I handicapped from it or disabled from it? Yes, I am disabled from it. I have a disabled sticker. I have a walker if I need it, a cane. I even have a wheelchair if I need it. But it's just amazing if we can just get in and out of buildings without having to worry about it. That is such a privilege. And the ones of us that are privileged, we need to help fight alongside the ones that aren't to get every building where people can get in it, because it is ridiculous that in 2025 people simply just can't go into a restaurant because it's an old building and it's a step up. It is not expensive to buy one of those little short ramps, and they could keep it there, they could put it there, they could take it in and out at night, they could do whatever they wanted. It's not that expensive, and it would make a world of difference to so many people. So, education access, having access to quality schools, tutors, or even parents who have the time to help you with homework, you know, that's not a thing against parents. So many times today, both parents have to work, and a lot of times kids are latchkey kids and they go home to neither parent home while they're there doing their homework and everything else. That's why we have such a problem with obesity, is because with both parents working, a lot of times very fast food or very processed food is how they get through dinner times and stuff, because we don't have the time or the energy to, to put into all this, you know, cooking of healthy meals, which is sad. Plus, isn't it sad that junk food is so inexpensive and good food that is good for you, healthy for you, is so incredibly expensive? It just, what the heck? It's insane to me. But yeah, having, you know, education access, it really does make a difference. Quality schools where they're not having to worry about gangs, tearing it up, or it's just so much goes into it, where they can have good teachers, where the teachers aren't afraid of being shot and killed. That is a privilege. And I mean, very much so. I hit I hit it the easy route with my race, with my gender to some extent, with my sexual orientation and religion and citizenship and economic stability and disability status and education. I have a lot of privilege right here. So I'm not like talking down to you. I'm talking straight across. I'm right there with you. Now, I do have another one. This is a little extenuation of it. And these are like smaller things that we might not think about as much. Just our health, being able to run errands, work long shifts, to travel without chronic pain or illness. I'm very nervous about this trip. We're breaking a 14-hour drive into 2 days just for the fact that with my things that I have wrong with me, I will swell up and look like a blowfish if I was to ride in a vehicle for the entire 14 hours plus time out for lunch or anything. I'm going to wear compression leggings, which are not the cutest of the cute, but that's what I'm going to wear with a long, turtle or not turtleneck, a long hoodie or something over it to cover my butt. But yeah, I changed the way I dress to travel. I all of that just because of pain and illness. Because I don't want to spend 2 days after we get there sick. So, or 2 days after we get home sick. Vision and hearing, not needing assistive devices or being able to easily afford glasses or hearing aids. Absolutely. Glasses are so expensive. We're going next month, and I just absolutely, it's hundreds of dollars for Mark and I to go get glasses, and it's because, we're getting older, y'all, and we don't have single vision lenses, or yeah, lenses anymore. So being able to do that is a privilege, and I thank God for it. Having clothing options, being able to find your size at most stores without special ordering. I know how that feels. A lot of us plus size girls and guys, we know it's not easy to find the fashionable things that we want. We want to dress just like everybody else. And it seems like it's getting really difficult sometimes to find, you know, clothes that are cute but figure flattering. And when they do have plus size, they want to just make the same outfit as they would for a skinny girl, right? And I'm sorry, but I look an absolute fool in like a crop top or something like that. So yeah, we need like, can we maybe chill on the crop tops a little? When you got a gut, it just doesn't work. And I got a gut. We call it a what is it they called it? A tammy tummy because I took tamoxifen, and it gives you a tummy. So, my stomach was always flat till then, so blame the chemo. Anyway, food choices, being able to choose what to eat for taste, not for just what you can afford. Absolutely. I think about that sometimes, I'm so privileged to be able to go and get, what I want most of the time and not really worry a whole lot about the expense. Now, I don't go somewhere that's gonna be, that I can't afford. But but it's so nice, but I know that that is a privilege that not everybody has. And the sad thing to me is that a lot of the people that don't have that privilege are the very people that should. It should, are boomers, for lack of a different word, the ones that are retired or, the elderly. I think they should be able to afford to eat whatever they want. And really, they are the ones that can't. And they don't really want for that much. They're so easygoing about it, but it breaks my heart that our grandparents and great grandparents out there, which I am a grandparent, um, anyway, that they can't afford to just to go eat. I mean, you'll see little couples at McDonald's that are splitting a meal. They'll buy one meal and split the fries and cut the hamburger in half and, you know, share the drink. And it just, I mean, if that's all they want because that's all that they can, they get full after that, that's one thing. But if they wanted a whole hamburger, it just breaks my heart. Time, having free time for hobbies, relaxation, self care instead of constantly working or caregiving. That is huge. That is huge. Guys, if you've got the time to just do nothing, that is phenomenal. It is amazing. I mean, not only is it just fun, but it's so good for you. It's so good for your mental health to just have the time to decompress and do nothing. So don't ever just think that that's nothing or that you're being lazy. Sometimes we just need to just not do anything, really. So, technology comfort, growing up with the technology or with technology, making it easy to use online tools without stress. Y'all, ding, 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 basically. I don't know too many of us, and if you do, then lucky you, but there's a lot of us out there that just aren't as comfortable with computers and everything as kids are. Like, I swear, Veta is way more comfortable just like doing whatever on the computer or the iPad or the phone or whatever. They can literally just pick them up and they know what they're doing. I'm like struggling trying to figure out how to turn it on. I am not even kidding. When I got this new laptop, I looked at it for like several minutes trying to figure out how to turn it on. I just discovered today, I've had this laptop probably a year or close, and I just discovered today that it doesn't have a number pad. It doesn't have that whole little separate number thing. I guess because I don't really, have to deal with numbers that often, I just didn't think about it. It's not like I didn't know it, but it didn't dawn on me that it didn't have it until I was looking up how to do something and it said, if you don't have this, then do it like this. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't have that. So being taken seriously, speaking up in a room and not being dismissed because of age, gender, or appearance. That's huge. It really is. I just, I don't know. I just, there's so many people that really do feel invisible or feel talked down to simply because of their age, their gender, or how they look. I feel like that so much of the time because of how I speak. Um, Obviously I have a Southern accent. I usually, like, whenever I'm doing these shows, unless I'm just like kind of just having fun, I'm very conscious of my speech. So if you notice that sometimes, like tonight, maybe I don't quite sound as Southern as I do other times, or I really sound Southern some other time, it's because when I don't sound Southern, I am thinking about it. I am really trying to pronounce my words correctly. I mean, just I'm paying attention because for some reason, a lot of people equate a Southern accent with being stupid, just like blonde hair, dumb blondes, whatever. And so I get a lot that, people a lot of times, not you all, I'm talking more in like the business world. Like whenever I had the paper, people that didn't live in Oklahoma, if I talked to them about things, they would kind of be surprised that I wasn't stupid. And I think that it was because of my accent. And so much of the time I do, really try to not have it. And then other times I just talk. Or, God forbid, if I have been talking to any of my friends from Georgia or Alabama or something, you could just like kiss all effort to not sound Southern out the window. Just throw it away because, it's going to happen. But yeah, just by the way you talk with accents or, how you look, people can just judge you by so many things. And if that doesn't happen to you, that's a privilege. It really is. We just have a few more. So these are kind of things that we take for granted, and I'm going to go through them pretty fast because it's obvious that some of these are privileges, but I don't think that we often think, wow, that is a privilege. So having a supportive family, having parents, grandparents, or guardians who are emotionally or financially supportive, that's amazing, especially, when we're children. But even into adulthood, being able to help your children and, like Megan and Curtis, their boys are 17, and they're going to be graduating and going off to college and all this stuff, getting jobs, whatever they do. And, they were already talking about, well, how much rent am I going to have to pay and all this stuff. And it's wonderful because Megan and Curtis are fine with not charging them rent as long as they are working and saving money and trying to, build their own future. Now, if they just start like, partying all the time and playing video games, then yeah, that's likely to change. But it's great to have parents and grandparents and everything that can. Oh, here we go. Accent or dialect, speaking in a way that's considered normal or professional without being mocked. It really is a privilege to not be mocked, and I have even thought about, like, taking voice lessons just to absolutely lose my accent because I struggle with it so much. If I don't consciously try not to have it, then it's bad. Body size, not facing bias, stares, or judgment in healthcare, jobs, or even shopping for clothes. I'll tell you, I don't remember if I ever told this story, but one time, hasn't been that long ago, Mark and I were flying to Savannah, I think, or maybe it was Hawaii. I don't know. Anyway, we were flying somewhere. And as I'm coming down the aisle, because I have very good hearing, y'all, I hear the woman that is actually in the seat in front of where I'm going to sit, right? She's sitting in the middle seat, and there's another lady beside her by the window. And I literally see the woman look at me, give me a look, and she literally says, "Oh God, I hope she's not sitting here." Now, I'm clean. I don't smell. I am a big girl, but I fit in my seat. I am not, I don't crowd people. I'm very polite. But she assumed that if I was sitting with her, that I was going to crowd her, smell. I don't know what she assumed, but I almost wished that I was sitting with her, but we weren't. We were sitting in the seat behind her, I think, or the one in front of her. I can't remember. One or the other. But yeah, I was so mad and I was so mad that I almost cried once I got sat down and in my seat and everything. And so, that was like the first time that I had flown in probably 2 years that I hadn't had to ask for an extender. Now, even when I had to ask for an extender, first of all, it was humiliating to have to ask for one, but I didn't take up any wider in the seat. It was because of my stomach being so bloated from chemo. And so, you know, but I was so proud that I knew I wasn't gonna have to have an extender or anything. I was happy, and then that old bitch made me feel like dirt. So, if you don't have any of that, consider it a privilege, please. Name privileges, having names that others can pronounce. Yeah, absolutely. Mine's easy. Now, Oberholt's not so much. We get a lot of that one. Even my dad pronounces that wrong. I'm trying to think. I can't even remember now how he says it. I don't remember because I'm like, where did that even come from? Neighborhood safety, being able to walk outside at night without fear, a huge privilege. Access to transportation, either having a car or living in a place with reliable public transit. Absolutely. Internet access, reliable Wi Fi for school, work, or even for entertainment. See, that's what I mean about all this is these are all privileges. But it doesn't mean that we had a perfect life. It doesn't mean that we don't work our asses off. So whenever these political parties, and they both do it, try to, you know, divide us by what our privileges are or, make us ashamed for having privileges, then, you know, just know that's them. That's them trying to divide and conquer. That's all that is. And I don't care which side it is. They both do it. They all do it. So I do have like 3 small ones I wanted to add. So here are our questions. And honestly, if don't you dare get rid of your accent. I have tried at times. I really have tried, John. I have tried hard, but I don't know. I think I'm at an age now where I'm just like, screw it. But I do have people that have said that I'm faking it because, like, sometimes I don't sound as Southern as I do other times. And so I usually just tell them, "Well, sometimes you're not as big of an asshole as you are other times either." So, anyway, so the big picture questions, and I would love to get your answers on these. So, when did you first hear the word privilege, and what was your reaction to it? Did you think of it as like an insult, or did you think that somebody meant that if you were privileged that you had this perfect life? You know, What did you what did you think of it? I know that years ago we used to talk about people being privileged, and it was usually that they were wealthy. And so I think that was probably my first thought about it was that, it was people that were wealthy, but it's not. It's just that's what it was being used as. I'm probably dating myself, but yeah. So anyway, can you think of a time that you realized you had an advantage? I think mine for me was when I figured out that because my children were white, that I had a whole different set of fears than the mothers of black children. I think that that was big for me. So I'm serious. I want y'all to answer too. How does privilege show up in the community you grew up in versus where you are now? You know, it was kind of in opposite kind of way for me where I grew up because I honestly was the only white kid in my elementary school, the only one. And so I kind of know how that feels to be the only black kid or the only Mexican kid or the only whatever, because I literally was the only white child. And so now it's the opposite. A lot of times, I mean, whenever I went to school at the school here where my daughters and my grandchildren went to school at, when I was in school there, I mean, there was one little boy, he was the same age as my brother, and he was the only black kid in the school. And where I had come from in California, it was predominantly, um, Latino and black, and then white. White was like 3rd or 4th, because if you have also, like, the Filipinos and all that. Yeah, so being white was really different. And so, yeah, to come here, it was polar opposite. It was strange. Do you think privilege always feels obvious, or does it sometimes hide in the background? I'm sure it hides in the background. We don't know what everybody's privileges are or aren't. And really, that's kind of good, I guess. Oops, hit the wrong button. There we go. Okay, I got two more little ones. So this is like everyday life questions. What is something small that you realized is actually a privilege? Like examples, reliable Wi-Fi, safe neighborhood, or parents that read to you. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was lucky. I grew up on a ranch. It was very safe. And my parents were very attentive, especially my mom. My dad worked a lot of hours, but when he was home, he was very attentive. We did everything as a family. So I hit the jackpot on that one. So if you think back to your school years, what did you have access to that some of your classmates didn't? Probably a mom that was home for the most part. My mom did work part of the time that I was growing up, but for most of the time, they chose for her to stay home and be there for the kids. I mean, basically, she worked if she needed to, like if there was a reason, if we needed to pay off some bills, we had some medical bills come up or something. So, but probably just having my mom there. I know a lot of my classmates didn't, and I had both parents, and a lot of my classmates didn't. So, have you ever been surprised to learn that something that you take for granted isn't available to everyone? Absolutely. Healthcare. I always just assumed that healthcare was available to everyone, and it's not. I just assumed that everyone could afford school lunches when I was in school. It didn't dawn on me that some of those kids that chose not to eat lunch, like they chose not to, that maybe it was because they couldn't afford the lunches and they were too embarrassed to get the free lunch, afraid somebody would find out. And I did figure that out later in life, and it was kind of huge. Which daily conveniences would be the hardest for you to live without, and what would life be like without them? Ugh, guys, I want to know, what would that be? I really want to hear your answers. So for me, I absolutely would be lost without my Wi-Fi, but I would be so lost without air conditioning and heat. Heat I could manage because we could get a wood stove. I've lived with a wood stove for years and was great at keeping the fire going and keeping it at a pretty good temperature. So, but yeah, I air conditioning and heat are just easy, like stuff I've gotta have, or having access to a car. I mean, I live out in the country, so public transportation is not a deal here. But then I think about there are people out here that don't have a car or they have one and the husband or something, takes it to work and then the wife is just there without a car all day. And what if something happened to the children? And just I think about that kind of thing sometimes. I really do. And then we have reflective questions. How does recognizing your own privilege change the way we see others? Wow. I think it makes me not so judgmental. What's one way that we could use even a small privilege to make life easier for someone else? Wow. I don't know. There's a lot of things. I think that would be very situational. Um, I know that we know that we are financially privileged. And so we try to adopt needy families and not just like the angels on the tree, but we will pick a family in the community and buy their entire Christmas for them, the parents, the kids, everything. And we wrap the parents' gifts, but we don't wrap the kids' presents because we want the parents to do that and we want, them to know what the kids are getting and all of that. And it has just it first of all, it's incredibly moving for us. I mean, ugh, it just, but to see those families and to know, and I mean, I call them up and I say, "What do you want? What do these kids want?" I don't, I include them in it. I even took one of the moms one time shopping. And so, we try to do that and we try to make sure that they know that this is not, we're looking down on you. This is that, it's not a handout, it's a hand up, basically. So, do you think that talking about privilege makes people uncomfortable? And if so, why? I do think it makes people uncomfortable. And I think that a lot of that is because of the political divide and how both sides try to make it like we should feel bad about having privileges. And really, we should just feel privileged. We should just feel lucky and stop letting them have yet another thing to use against us to divide us. And like I said, it's everybody. It is Democrats, Republicans. I mean, it's everybody, independents, everybody. They all do it and it sucks. And if you're in another country, I'm sure that your political parties do the same thing. How can gratitude and privilege go hand in hand instead of feeling like guilt? That one's the hard one because sometimes we do feel so privileged and we know that other people aren't, and that can make you feel really guilty and like you don't even want anybody to know, that you've got certain privileges or whatever. But we just have to it, it just is what it is. It just is what it is. And as long as we don't use our privileges to hurt other people, I think we're doing okay. If we use these privileges to help others, but especially if we don't use them to hurt others. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. So I do have a few starred questions or comments. I'm going to go check those real quick. So Indigo says, I mean, I have experienced having privileges others didn't, working to understand what I can do with that platform has been life changing. I agree. It absolutely can be. Absolutely. Lori is happily lurking. Yeah, Mary, you're right. Men babysit and the women look after. I know, and it's like, no, it's their children. They're looking after them just like the mom does. It just, ugh, I don't know. It's so irritating. Oh, here we go. Healing through song. Kosher describes foods, drinks, or items that are fit to eat or use under Jewish dietary laws, known as kashrut. I'm going to say it wrong, which dictate what is permissible and how it must be prepared. Yeah, I know that part. I just don't know exactly what is and what isn't. And so I'm really interested in it. I do want to have some Jewish people on and just talk about it because I'm very interested in the not only the religion, which I think is very interesting, but just the actual lifestyle, that everything. So key principles include consuming only certain animals with specific criteria. Absolutely. Never mixing. Wow. Never mixing meat and dairy, and thoroughly checking products for non-kosher ingredients and processing. See, I'd be in trouble because I like to put like cheese and all kinds of stuff like that on chicken and different things. So I would already be in trouble. Mare says I was one of those kids who spent time in the ER. Good thing we have universal health care. Absolutely. I don't know why we can't get it. John says that internet access is one thing that I often take for granted. Absolutely. Absolutely. Me too. Not exactly a privilege, but because I've developed anxiety coping strategies, I have the privilege to support others. That is a privilege. It is a privilege that you have developed these ways of coping with it, and that you are able to share that. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Mare says, my comfortable bed. Grew up without a comfortable bed. Absolutely. My bed was not all that comfortable growing up either, so I love a comfortable bed and soft linens and a squishy comforter or whatever, or warm quilt, that kind of thing. I just love all that kind of stuff. I truly do. So, anyway. So, guys, I think that is it for today. We will be back tomorrow, though. John will be with me. We're going to talk about making it through the Burr months, which are September, October, November, and December. Those months are extremely hard for a lot of people. Eh, You know, just the holidays, certain times of the year, you know, the end of the year, trying to get your taxes and everything around, whatever it is. And we're going to talk about it. And I really want the chat to join in. I really do. And tell us what is hard about the Burr months for you, and how do you make those months easier? Mine is a lot of it has to do with grief, and that is a lot with a lot of people. But you know, I'll be interested to see what everybody else has to say. So, anyway, thank you so much for being here. John, thank you so much for helping me in the back. I love you, buddy. I love my mods. I love my chat. I love everybody. I am like feeling pretty damn privileged. I'm telling you. So, I am going to go. Mark is here and we're going to have some quick dinner, and that he brought it home so I didn't have to cook. And then I'm going to finish packing because we leave Friday. So I'm pretty privileged there too, I think, right? Okay. Well, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I love you all. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed the show. So glad you were here. We meet here most days. We're but first coffee, and you're welcome here. We talk about hard subjects, but we also laugh a lot. If you have a loss or win, we will cheer for you. But first, coffee, and you are safe here. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't want to miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't want to miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all.